And we are back, and we are going to start with our semifinals of the top 8 debate for Vincent Dutrait Art in Game games. I'm still having trouble saying that.
Vincent Dutrait Art in Games. Don't add the second games.
Yeah.
That's just the title.
All right. Vincent Dutrait Art in Games. We're debating the top games that he's created, or no, that he's done art for. That if we did the top 8 debate for games he's created, we'd have the winner already because there's one.
Yeah, because there's only one game he's actually credited as a designer for.
Right, exactly. But so now we're in our semifinal round where we are going to take on Jaipur versus Pathfinder the Adventure card game. Both of these games I've played probably over 30 to 50 times.
Yeah, Pathfinder less so. I've played Jaipur a lot more, but it's because Jaipur is a great filler game as well. A big part of it is if I show up to a game night late and someone else does, if someone owns a copy of Jaipur, we just play it until they finish their big game. So that's a big plus for me in Jaipur's category.
It is. And have you played the app version of Jaipur?
I have. It's okay. We played the Board Game Arena version as well.
Yeah.
But I have played the app. I like it. It just doesn't give me that same sense of feel that I get when I'm playing the actual card game, because part of it, too, is I'm trying to read the other player. I can't read the other player when it's through a computer.
Yeah, when it's an AI. I just like how they change like different scenarios, add alternates, like where like the tokens might be increasing in value instead of decreasing. Or you only have a hand limit of 6 cards or 10 cards or something like that. I find it very interesting to me. But so the app, and it's on sale right now. Asmodee is having a sale, so that's worth pointing out.
Yeah, Steam is actually, I think, having a sale as well for board games, because there's summer spectacular sales and stuff like that. So yeah,
I'm gonna look into that for sure. So, which one do you want to argue? Do you want to argue for Jaipur?
Yeah, I'll argue for Jaipur. I know that one better. I play that one more. And again, big part of me is Pathfinder the Adventure card game got replaced by a better dungeon crawl, to be truthfully honest.
Yeah, it's still the best dungeon crawl card game.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, like, I get why that's like the lead into a bunch of others, like why you went into Gloomhaven, why I
technically Gloomhaven is a card game in a sense too.
Yeah, it's card-based mechanism. But that's like saying Pathfinder the Adventure card game is a dice game because there's dice, right? You know, I mean, it's not quite the same. But let's break down our breakdowns real quick between Jaipur and Pathfinder. Which one do you feel is easier to play?
Hands down, Jaipur.
You think so?
To be truthful, yeah, I think there is much more, or there's a lot that you have to think about, but just getting the core mechanic down is so simple. It's like, I play a set, I collect a set, or I take camels.
Or you take a card, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So then I can give you that. So we'll give the point for ease of play to Jaipur.
Whereas, especially for when it comes down to playing Pathfinder, that is not an easy game to get into. No. Tabletop Bellhop said it earlier. Every time you get into a new set, the core game rulebook is just a bit trying to go through it.
Yeah, it really is. It was a bear, and you have to reference the rulebook quite a bit because of all the nuances. I just wonder if the likelihood of getting to the table initially might be benefited because it's Pathfinder.
Yeah, I think it would win that part of ease of play. But honestly, I think that would be the only part it would win, just because the Pathfinder theme and the generic fantasy theme.
Sure.
Because when it comes down to it, Jaipur is kind of themeless. It's just a card game, in all honesty.
It really is.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah. I agree with Tabletop Bellhop. Pathfinder is almost as bad as learning the RPG. So many little rules, so many special circumstances. Yeah, and that's just because it's more of an in-depth game. Art and production. This is going to be a tricky one. So
it is, yeah.
The art, they're the same. I mean, we can't compare the two.
I will say this. Yes, the art is the same because it's made by the same guy. I would choose Jaipur's art over Pathfinder the Adventure card game, just the art by itself, because the Space Cowboy edition is so colorful, so bright, gets you really into it. Tabletop Bellhop adds cards are far too crowded in Pathfinder. Yeah,
Yeah, they're basically role player sheets. And so that goes into our design part of it. Do we feel like the design, they are really crowded, but they have to be. It's by necessity. But when you
Yes.
actually are trying to acquire the item or beat the person, it's a very simple system. You know what you're looking for, and you're able to figure out the all of the different dice that you're rolling. I think the design, personally, would go to Pathfinder the Adventure card game.
I can give you that one.
Yeah.
The design, just because it fits to what it's trying to do.
Yeah. But what about the pieces and components? The Pathfinder the Adventure card game, the insert's great. The cards, they're pretty good. But the card quality on Jaipur, it's a linen
especially
finish.
the version
really,
we're arguing, the Space Cowboy one.
It has the metal coin in there for just choosing first player, I guess. The cardboard tokens are pretty decent versus
very nice
a whole box of not as good cards. They're still better than most, but they're just not as good as
when it comes to the
Jaipur.
pieces and components, for me personally, I would give it to Jaipur.
Okay.
Now, if I had to say, Jaipur ever came out with a deluxe edition where those cardboard pieces become poker chips,
Okay.
I don't care if it's $40, if it's $50, I'm paying it for a 2-player game just because that's how good quality those tokens are. I can just imagine what they could do with poker chips.
That's a good point. Okay. Yeah. Then that means art and production also goes to Jaipur. Meaningful choices. Or let's go replay value.
This is
replay value is a given. We know which one is more replayable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Splendor or chip theory style tokens? Yes. Exactly.
I would buy a deluxe version of Jaipur in a minute. Absolutely.
Yeah. Even though it's a 2-player game.
Yeah.
That kind of quality, because I don't get a lot of 2-player games because my wife doesn't like to play games a lot. She does enjoy like Keyforge right above me.
Yep.
But stuff like that, yeah.
All right. Replay value goes to Pathfinder. Hands down.
Hands down, yeah. Just because you can get box 1 and box 2 and box 3 and stuff like that, plus all the little bubble things that go for the story of that set.
Right.
You can take your character over to the new set, yeah.
And then immersion, I would also give to Pathfinder because it really does feel like you're delving down. You're going into these different things. You're trying to find the bad guys. You're interacting because it's co-op, and you really do have those memorable moments. Like, I just never will. Hold on, and boom. And I rolled the big number. I think immersion is really more powerful in Pathfinder.
Yeah, no, I give you that. So we have replay value and game immersion, so we're down to meaningful choice.
Meaningful choice. This will be the decider. I know which one I'm voting for, to be completely honest with you, because impacting other people is the core of Jaipur.
Yeah.
Everything you do, every step
and that goes along with the long-term strategy, too.
Yeah, exactly. Do you sell now, knowing what I have here and what's in front of both of us? Do I
just
sell
take
now?
Those points away from you.
Yeah, or do I save for the set to balance that out? Do I trade stuff? Like I'll give you one of my clues of how I do so successfully in Jaipur is that if I see something that I want to trade for, and I have the camels to move for it, I'm only going to trade for those things and dump all those camels if you have very few cards to trade for it. If I know that you can't trade for it, that's when I'm going to dump all the good stuff in the middle of the row because I know you have to only go for like one thing at a time.
Yeah.
And so that's a very meaningful choice, and that impacts everybody. I don't think that there's an arbitrary choice in this game.
Yeah, no, there is no. I can't think of like just randomly making a arbitrary choice and still being able to compete.
Right.
You have to think out your thoughts. As I wouldn't be upset if Pathfinder moved on, but I just think when it comes down to meaningful choices, there are so. And again, when it comes down to the arbitrary choice, again, you're beholden to the dice. So you don't know how things are going to work. So you do make a choice, but it's not your choice because the dice determine what happens.
Yeah.
Whereas everything you do in Jaipur is what you've thought out.
Sure. Yeah. I don't disagree with that. Yeah. And Bellhop brought up an interesting point. Pathfinder you can finish. Where like it does have an ending to the story, and Jaipur is just one and done. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, because of the meaningful choices, I really think Jaipur needs to go on.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you on that. This was a lot tougher than I thought, but when I go down into the way we break down these categories, that's how strong Jaipur is of a game.
Yeah, it really is. It's a solid game. I'm not going to
especially for such a small, simple game.
Yes, it's in my top 5. I think it's consistently in my top 5, almost always. That's really hard to say, but I mean, it's, as far as card games go, it's up there with Bonanza. Bonanza is just, both of those have so much in depth to it. So that means let's go to our next round. Jaipur went on, beating out Pathfinder, the adventure card game. How many votes did it get in our poll?
Pathfinder, the adventure card game, got 1. Bean,
yeah. love Bonanza. All right, Lewis and Clark versus Lost Cities.
I'll take Lewis and Clark if you want, because I know you know Lost Cities like the back of your hand.
I do. Lost Cities gets ease of play.
Simple enough, yeah. And we've proven this fact. We've both played this. We still had to relearn it when we played it.
Yeah.
On Board Game Arena, we're like, wait, what? And huh? And who?
Who? Where now? What?
So ease of play, hands down, Lost Cities, because it's basically get these, play these in a sequential order. Make sure you're going up. You can't go down. You got to go up. Yep. So if you play a 5 over a 3, you can't play that 4 ever again.
Yeah, you're done. You're set for the. In which I feel like that almost has meaningful choice down as well, at least as far as impacting long-term strategy.
Yeah, no, I give you that.
Well, we'll talk to that in a minute.
But let's go ahead and go through the breakdown. Ease of play, hands down, Lost Cities. Mm-hmm. Replay value. Honestly, I think replay value I would give to Lewis and Clark, and this is why. Length of time and scaling well. We played a 2-player, we played a 3rd player.
It's a long game.
4th player gets longer, so I'll give Lost Cities that. Because, again, Lost Cities 2 players, you can't expand it. Mm-hmm. You can play the board game, but that's not what
there's an expansion for Lost Cities, the card game.
I'm not talking about expanding. I'm talking about expanding with player count.
Oh, I get you. Okay, yeah.
Because it's a 2-player. Minimum number of plays for full experience. I probably give that to one Lewis and Clark because just different things come out. You could try new captains and stuff like that. You know?
Sure. Yeah.
And then expandability up to the future. I don't think there's an expansion for
Lewis and Clark. I don't believe there might be. I know there's at least promo cards, but there is an expansion for Lost Cities. Do you know what it is?
Yeah. What's that?
It's a 6th suit. It's the same thing. It's a 6th suit to play with.
I guess the expandability wins, so it gets replay value because it has an expansion. Hold on, let me look this up.
Yeah, let's look it up because I don't actually know. I think Lewis and Clark does have promo cards for it, which I think that would be fair enough. If it had even 1 or 2 promo cards, I think that'd be fair enough to at least tie it with the technically one expansion for Lost Cities, which is so silly. I'm trying to
see on here if it has expansions. So
I know it has geek bits, or better components. So
expansions. It actually has a bunch of promos, so you can get Antoine Balza and Bruno Cathala.
Okay.
Benjamin Board, Cedric Chabosu, Martin Wallace, Uwe Rosenberg are the promos. So it's just basically promo cards that you can add, which is all designers.
Additional content because each of those are different abilities. So I would say it's only fair to give it to call it a wash because technically another 5th of the game is added on to Lost Cities and not change anything. Wait, 2 expansions for Lost Cities? Oh, one's only in German. Okay, I didn't know that. I knew about the extra packer cards. So, as far as replay value,
I'll give replay value to Lost Cities. In all honesty, the promo packs they're cool, but they don't really do anything.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know that. That blows my mind. That's awesome. So there we go. So, but player range and scale. I mean, definitely scaling is better for
Lewis and
Clark because it can. But minimum number of
lengthens the time.
Minimum number of plays for full experience. You play at Lost Cities once. So either way, replay value goes to Lewis and Clark.
Yep. Game immersion.
I mean,
theme matching mechanisms. I mean, it's math. Honestly, it's math.
Yeah, but it really does feel like it makes sense. It is math,
okay,
yes,
hold on. Theme matching mechanism. We just talked about Reiner Knizia being the king of painted on theme.
Yes, I don't disagree with it. Like, I mean, you're sending out your workers, you're racing up the river. I do agree that it matches the mechanisms to an extent, but I'm not going to downplay Lost Cities. It really, you're going on an expedition. The farther you go, the more value it is. You have to make the deals beforehand if you want to. Read what
tabletop Bellhop just said. It just counterpoints your argument right there. I mean, read it.
It's a very black and white mechanism.
Read it.
Mechanism. I see it. It's a very black and white mechanism. Read it out loud for the people at home. I mean, Tabletop Bellhop agrees with you. It doesn't feel like you're going on an expedition. I beg to differ because you can't go back as far as your...
Because you're the king of dry Euros.
I will give Lewis and Clark...
the thing we say about you is if it's got all mechanisms and a painted-on theme, it's in your top 10 games of all time.
I'm just saying I don't think it's getting... I don't think it can be counted off that quickly. I still would give it to Lewis and Clark. But
I would count it off that quickly. It's literally numbers. It's all it is. Play this number, go down the river. Play this number, go down the river.
Okay, all right, fine. I will admit defeat as far as that category goes.
Tabletop Bellhop's adds, I don't feel like I'm going to get lost or run out of supplies or become exhausted. And so I think the theme really does come out of Lewis and Clark, and especially coming to the mechanisms itself. It's a race game. You're trying to be the first to discover the Pacific Ocean and make it all the way to the other side, going up the river. You're interacting with Native Americans. You're gaining supplies to do it.
Yeah, okay, all right. I'll admit. Now, player interaction, we want to clarify this for the immersion part of it. It's how much interaction we're having player to player.
With each other. Yeah. Now, are you playing solitaire, multiplayer solitaire, or are you actually interacting with the other players?
Excluding mechanisms, technically. Yeah. Because, like, in Lost Cities, it's all about player interaction as far as meaningful choices. But are we interacting playing Lost Cities? No, we're staring at the center of the card. We're looking at our hand of cards or the center.
I think Lewis and Clark wins this one because, again, when you're going with up all in the camp and you're trying to outrun, and then if you just had the perfect number and you were to land in the space with another player, you actually get to jump them and move ahead of them. And I love that ability. Plus, when
the immersion.
You're playing in the Native American parts of it too, what I really like is that you can literally block off someone's spot, and that's going to allow. There is a bit of bluffing. Yes, I agree. There is a bit of bluffing. Don't play this with a poker player. Your bluffing will not work.
Right. They'll call you out quick.
I honestly think interacting with the other player goes to Lewis and Clark. Therefore, this wins. Lewis and Clark wins game immersion because it's just. Yeah, I just feel that it is the better immersive game.
It is. I will admit that. Lewis and Clark does feel like you're going on an expedition, whereas Lost Cities... And
you're competing against the other people doing it, too.
Right. So now it comes down to arbitrary or meaningful choice. So
we still have art and production, too.
Oh, yeah, we did. So ease of play is Lost Cities. Art and production. I mean, the art wash. Because what's great about Lost Cities, though, is each card is a slightly more offset version of the expedition. So it's a long panorama picture. That's really neat. That's a really cool
The board is really nice in Lewis and Clark. To me it's a wash because they both work really well together. Pieces and components.
Well, okay. So you have big tarot-sized cards, right? They're very clear what they are. Even for us colorblind people, we do see it well. The board is good quality, and it doesn't need to have more than that for what it's supposed to have. The card quality shuffles really well, it's a good size, and the board is decent. Whereas the components in Lewis and Clark, they're not colorblind friendly. You and I have argued with the pink and green. And so Tabletop Bellhop, since this is your first time joining us, me and Daniel are actually both colorblind. But there are icons not on the wooden pieces, though.
Yeah.
So the pink and the gray ones, those are really similar for us. Now, is that a big detractor? No, because the tiles that you put on, the boards you have, the cards are all good quality, and it's not that big of a deal.
Oh, he's talking about Lost City.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So the components parts of it are really nice, but yeah, it is not colorblind friendly in Lewis and Clark. However, you get wooden things for stone, you get pieces for beef, you get pieces and components that kind of match what they're doing for that, as well as the meeples in there, the track, the one that's going up the race and stuff like that. The canoe pieces and the horses, and they're kind of generic, but the pieces are really nice. The component quality is really nice. So for me personally, I would give it to Lewis and Clark just because it has those components. They didn't have to do wood; they could have just done cardboard.
Yeah, a bunch of cards and a board are going to get beat up by any game. Well, it depends. Yeah, that's true.
Depends. There are games that we've talked about where the resources are just cubes, or the Uwe Rosenberg worker placement games. Come on, you're getting a meeple versus a disc.
Yeah, or like some of the games. There's a few games that I have that are just card games, but they are plastic, heavy-duty cards because they might be like stuff might spill on them.
Or something like a Mystic Vel could actually beat out something like Lewis and Clark, even though there's nice wooden pieces and stuff like that, but that transparent cards and the way they work, and the mechanisms they work, I think Mystic Vel could win that.
Yeah.
But for me, just with this
art and production, you're thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those aren't just cards. That's true.
Yeah.
Solid argument. So art and production, we feel Lewis and Clark then?
Yeah, because, and this is why I think it would win it anyways, the design. The way everything works together in that game with the art.
All right, I don't disagree with that, but I do think Meaningful Choice would have gone to Lost Cities personally.
I don't disagree with you on that one either.
But yeah, that means Lewis and Clark wins 3-2 as far as our categories go. Wow.
I did not see that one coming, even though I really enjoy Lewis and Clark. Probably on this list, the finals are my two favorite games on this list.
They're probably my two favorite as well. I do really like Lost Cities, but I do agree that even if Lost Cities went against Jaipur, my vote would be Jaipur, hands down.
Yeah, same. Yeah. I think Lewis and Clark can actually hold its own against Jaipur. I don't know if Lost Cities could.
Yeah, that's true. I think this is going to be a very evenly matched. So, how many votes did Lost Cities get?
Lost Cities got 1.
1 vote. Yeah, you weren't kidding. This was one of our smallest votes, but that's, it is what it is. All right.
Which is weird because last week on the poll, we had like 100 votes.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So we're going to take a very, very quick break, and then we're going to jump right into the finals.
The finals.